because we're not filming this again. Welcome everyone back to my channel. Oh, we've got a little guest with us today, and oh, he's hungry. I'm gonna feed him. So a lot of things have happened since my last video. I had a few videos that I filmed over the Christmas period. We now have a new member of the family, and as you might already know, with my channel I don't share my children. This is going to be a one-off video because... Are you trying to eat yourself? Oh. This is going to be a one-off just because babies all look the same and it won't be remembered, but this is our new member of the family. Yes, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that we didn't find out what we were having. So we've had another little boy. I am a mum of 3 amazing boys, which makes me super happy. I feel like I'm made to be a boy mum. I've forgotten what it's like, these little newborn scrunches. Oh, and the little kisses. Oh, and their soft cheeks. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get so distracted filming this one. Yeah, so it's been a few weeks. I'm trying to get this out for you for Monday, hopefully. It's Saturday now, so I'll try and rush it through. I just thought I'd share with you my birth story. This was not the video I was wanting to be making. If you watched a few of my previous videos, you'll know that I really wanted to film the birth. Unfortunately, that did not happen. The birth did not go 100% as planned. So I thought I would share with you my birth story instead. Quite disappointed, like I really wanted to film it. Hey, that's life. The guest date was around the 10th of January, which also happened to be my 30th birthday. And I was having like contractions or like false labour for weeks and weeks and weeks. From before Christmas, I was having full-on false contractions. This has been the hardest pregnancy, like physically. Like I had really bad problems with my back, and it was not the easiest. I remember it was the 2nd of January, and I started having full-on contractions. So if you don't know, I have 3 children now. My first one was an elective C-section because he was breech. Oh, for my first baby 8 years ago, I was 21. I had an elective C-section because he was breech and they said there wasn't enough water to need. They were expecting him to be really small. And with my second, I ended up deciding to have a home VBAC. If you don't know what a VBAC is, it is a vaginal birth after C-section. You immediately are considered high risk because of being a C-section. There's a chance of the C-section scar tearing open, but it's such a small amount. So I decided to go for it. I loved labour, I loved birth. I was in early labour for sort of 2 days, which just felt like period pains. And then I had like 3 or 4 hours of active labour where it was kind of more intense when I was in the pushing stage. But I absolutely loved labour with my second, and I was really excited about labour again this time around. I felt it was really empowering with my second but first birth. I was really looking forward to labour. It wasn't something I'm scared of. I was kind of feeling pumped and empowered by it. So let's fast forward it back to, rewind back. So it was the 2nd of January in the evening, and I started to get contractions, and these were not like the contractions I had had when I started labour with my second. These were like the intensity of these contractions were the same as my last few contractions in my previous birth. So these contractions were very intense. After having them for about 30 minutes, I was like, I am it's gonna make so much noise. Yeah, after having these really full-on contractions for about 30 minutes, I was getting quite nervous. They were at the same intensity as when I was in the pushing stages with my previous births. So I had to call the midwife because I was also just very concerned that my active labour was very quick last time, and I was like, where I'd been in having false labour for weeks, maybe I'd done all the hard work subconsciously and I was actually a lot further along and it was going to happen a lot quicker. So because it was just that intense, we decided to call the midwife. The midwife got here, checked me out, and I was only 2 centimetres. I was like, oh, we've got ages, but she said that she wanted to stick around because it was just so intense. And what I didn't know is she said to my husband to get everything ready. She said to Joel to get everything ready for the birth because she thinks it's going to be quite a quick one. So he blew up the birthing pool, got everything ready, filled it up. Then I kind of was labouring, and this was all in the evening. Like, this was kind of getting close to midnight. And I was like, oh, I've got ages. So I sent Joel to bed to get some sleep so that he could wake up with the kids in the morning. And what I didn't realise was the midwife was very prepared for the baby to be coming that night. I was not. Although it was so intensely painful compared to my last birth, I don't know what I was thinking, but it does feel like I lost a good few days of my life. So I laboured all throughout the night and it was so intense. And then it was getting close to 6 a.m. and I was like, the kids are going to be waking up soon. I'd like to know where we are because this is so much harder than it was last time around. I'm really concerned and I don't want to scare the kids if I'm really struggling and in pain. So we decided that she was going to check me again, and it had been like 8 hours and I was only about 3 centimetres, which just threw me right off because it was so different from my last labour, like the complete opposite. And we decided that my midwife was going to go home and rest, and she was like, you need to do the same, you need to try as much as you can to get as much sleep as possible. Yeah, just try and get as much sleep as possible and call her back if things change or pick up. Joel woke up with the kids. I decided to get a nap, like try and sleep. We got my home-ed friend round who has 3 boys of her own. She took the boys to her house so that Joel could kind of rest and look after me. And I spent that whole day on and off trying to sleep while really intense labour. The contractions never stopped. They started off being 2 minutes apart and then they kind of drifted into like 15 minutes apart. But they were still the same intensity and painfulness from the first contraction to the last. Like it was so different. So I spent that whole day labouring, feeling like I was going backwards. I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. I was delirious. Like I remember saying after having him, I did lose like a week of my life because I didn't know where the kids were. I didn't know what I was doing. Luckily Joel just took charge, sorted everything out that needed sorting out. I hadn't eaten in days. I didn't eat in days because when you're in labour, I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but I do not want to eat. I clear my system out quite a lot. So I spent the whole day labouring. Then that night the kids came back, and again, it was still the same intensity, but I didn't want to call the midwife because I felt I'm not getting anywhere. It wasn't intense enough or regular enough, I guess. Then that night I was like, again, Joel, try and get as much sleep as possible. I'm going to stay down here and try and rest down here in between contractions. And it was just so painful. Really? I sent Joel to bed and I tried to sleep downstairs in the living room, and that's where the birthing pool was. And I kind of was on and off dozing in and out of sleep, but again the contractions were just so painful, so that every few minutes I'd get a contraction, it would wake me up. It got to about 1 in the morning and I was broken. I went upstairs and got into bed with Joel so that while I was contracting, every time I had a contraction he could push against my back, because it was my back that was in so much pain. And then I remember waking up at about 5:30 in the morning, coming downstairs going, I can't do this anymore. So by this point, we started labour in the afternoon on the 2nd. It was early morning on the 4th, and I hadn't really slept, hadn't really eaten, and I'd had my first contraction was just as intense as my last contractions with my first labour. And I was just like, I was broken. So it was about 5:30 and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need sleep, I need to eat, I need to do stuff, but I can't do it. So I waited and I kind of powered through for another hour or so. And then when Joel and the kids woke up, maybe at like 6:30, 7, I said to Joel, like, I can't do this. Like, I want to call the midwife and I want to decide, because I felt like I was going backwards. I don't feel like I was improving. I felt like I was maybe going to be one centimetre in, that somehow my whole labour just kind of gone back. That is what it felt like. So Joel, without me knowing, contacted someone to have the kids for the day and potentially overnight so that he could focus on me. He called the midwives and let them know like that I was struggling and that I needed someone to come and check on me. And he was sorting all of that out. So then by the time the midwife got here and the kids had been collected, it was about, I think, 10 a.m. And the midwife got here and I was like, look, if I am not progressing, then one of two things need to happen, because I was technically still a week early. I either need you to do something that can stop the contractions, I don't know if that's something you can do, or induce me and speed it along, because I haven't got it in me to push through and get to the end of this labour. I was exhausted. So she was like, well, let's check you and see where you're at. And she checked me, and amazingly I was 7 centimetres, which I was so happy about. And at this point I refused to take pain relief. I'm pretty I'm pretty adamant on not having pain relief ever, and it is something that Joel gets really annoyed at me about, because if I have a headache or if I'm in pain, I won't take pain relief. But my rule of thumb in labour was that I don't want to take any gas and air until I'm 7 or 8 centimetres. So when she said 7, I was like, yes! I feel like I can have gas and air now. But what Joel didn't tell me until afterwards was that he was really expecting as well for me to have gone, he's very loud, for me to have gone backwards and still have like a week of labour left. That's kind of what he was thinking. So then at 7 centimetres, they started to like fill up the pool again, because throughout this the past 3 days, I was on and off in and out of the pool for pain relief. It was really, really helpful actually. But then the problem was I was wanting to push and bear down, but I wasn't ready, and it felt like there was something stopping me. And I remember saying, because this is what happened with my first labour, was I was wanting to push but couldn't, and then when they checked me, my waters accidentally broke, and then I could push the baby out. It gave me like the release and space, I guess, that the baby needed to come out. And I remember saying that the waters are blocking it, I need you to break the waters, that's why he's not coming out. But the problem I was having was they were telling me that that he was not in the right position for me to have the baby. So if they broke the waters, it would have been even more painful. I don't feel like it could have gotten any more painful. It was bad. So then they spent the next few hours like moving me around, getting me into loads of different positions, trying to get the baby in the position that he needed to be in to come out. And that was torture. Going up and down the stairs sideways, like sitting backwards on the toilet, lying down with pillows in between my legs. It was a lot. And those of you that have ever been in labour before knows that when you are at them later stages, doing any form of movements is hard work. But they got me into every position that they could think of. Then it got to about kind of nearly, I guess, 2:30 probably. So their midwives had been here by 4 or 5 hours by this point. And I remember being like, right, I can't do this anymore. Please break the waters. Like, that is the thing that's stopping the baby from coming out. I need the waters to be broken. I cannot do this. So they're like, right, well, it's been a few hours, let's check you. They checked me and they said, you're only 8 centimetres, but baby's in a better position so they can break the waters. So they broke my waters, and literally it was, you know when you hold in a wee for so long and you finally are able to let it go? That is what it felt like. It was such a release, and it felt so much better. As soon as they broke my waters, I pretty much got back into the pool and started to push the baby out. This is what happened last time. Once my waters broke, I'm ready to go pretty much. So then I spent a good hour, maybe a bit less, pushing the baby out, and I honestly was really scared, because in my previous birth I tore quite badly because he decided to come out like Superman, and also I was high on gas and air this as well. So apparently Joel said I kept just saying, I don't want to tear, I don't want to tear, I can't do this. But I had to, and amazingly I was in the water. I didn't have a water birth last time. They had a little mirror, and it wasn't something that I ever thought I'd want to see, but they kind of put the mirror in the water and showed me, and it just clicked. I was like, oh, I can do this. I'm not going to tear. I've got this. And amazingly, I managed to somehow, with the lack of energy that I had after over 50 hours of labour, managed to push him out without tearing in the pool. That part was, although if you were looking from the outside, you would have thought that I really didn't have control, and it was insane. I felt so empowered at that point. And you know the end of the day, when you can see the head, you're like, thank goodness, there's only so long it's going to be. Although it felt like a lot longer than 45 minutes, you know it's the end at least. Whereas the whole 50 hours before, I was like, it could be 1 hour, it could be 17 days. That is how it felt. Those people who don't know me, I like a plan. And you can't, if you know that you can't plan labour. And I really struggled not knowing, and I really struggled, I just wanted to make a plan. But of course you can't do that. So he was amazingly born in the pool, and it was lovely, and I was so happy after that, and I was so glad not to tear. But unfortunately, things again did not go that easily. They checked his SATs, and he had really low SATs, but they were wondering if it was because they only had an adult SATs monitor. They said, what we're gonna do is call an ambulance, not because we're concerned, but because they'll have the equipment we need to check how he's doing. So they called an ambulance, and then within about 4 or 5 minutes of them calling an ambulance, 4 ambulances showed up on our street. Our neighbours must have had a field day. And I remember I'm sitting there on my sofa after coming out of the birthing pool, Joel's got the baby on his chest. I'm in, as you can imagine, a not dignified position. And suddenly, all these paramedics start walking in and I'm just like, what's going on? And apparently the message the paramedics had received was there's been a baby born at home not breathing, and if that is the case, they just send everyone. But they got the SATs monitor that they needed. They were checking his SATs and they weren't really bad, but they just weren't great. So they were like, we really want to send him into hospital just to make sure, like to put him on oxygen and just have him checked over, which is one of those things, of course you're going to do, you're not going to risk it, but you're also like, oh, I just had a home birth, I want to stay at home and get comfy, or as comfy as I can. But of course we need to do what's best. So me and him went into the hospital and we spent the night in hospital while he went on oxygen, and they checked him overnight and he was absolutely fine, so we came home that next morning. But I wasn't able to film any of the birth like I was planning to, because I was expecting it to be like my last birth, where for the first like 30 hours of it, it was like period pains, and I was able to go do the food shopping, clean the house, go for walks. I was planning on it being like that, where I could set up the camera and explain to maybe Joel what I want to happen. But where I was like nearly 2 weeks early when I started labour, I hadn't got anything set up, and the contractions were so intense that I couldn't focus on anything. Like honestly, if I didn't have Joel with me, then my poor children would have had to fend for themselves, because I could not have done anything. Luckily, Joel and friends were there. But yeah, and then I was hoping to have a bit of time the last few weeks to get some stuff done, but unfortunately baby was ill and we were in hospital with him for nearly, well, for 4 or 5 days, because they think he had a chest infection, he had to be checked out, so me and him were in hospital. So it's been a really intense 2 weeks. He's just 2 weeks old now. We are home and we are doing well, and I'm very grateful to be home with him. I stayed with him the whole time we were in hospital, but then I missed the big boys, and it was a lot. And then poor Joel was so tired because he was in and out of the hospital while dealing with the big boys. It's been an intense couple of weeks, if I'm honest. So I was hoping to have a lot more content ready and up for you, like coming up over the next few weeks, but I haven't got nothing. So I don't even know if this is going to be ready in time for Monday, so we'll see. I was also planning on filming my January grocery haul that I normally do, but that did not happen. But that is my very quick and intense birth story. It was not the video I was hoping for you guys. I really wanted for you and for myself to film the birth. I was really looking forward to that because it's something really special, but that's life, hey? So I would like to welcome you to our third son. He was 7 pounds and 2 ounces, which is my biggest child I've had. The other two were 6'3" and 6'7", and we've decided on calling him Solomon because it means peaceful, and he is the most peaceful little dude. They're going to be calling him probably Sully for short. So that is everything. I hope you enjoyed this very quick, random, speedy video, and I do intend to get back to my normal content when and if I have any time. Life is crazy. Yeah. So that's everything for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye, friends.